Hey guys, this is Jeremy from Production Den. Today we're going to be covering the second part in the Basics of FL Studio series. Today I'm going to be walking you through how to set up a MIDI controller in FL Studio so that you can control samples in the program. I'm going to show you how you can record hi-hat with the MIDI controller as well as recording a bass line. And then we're going to switch over to another project and I'm going to show you how I record a piano sample with the MIDI controller as well. And after that's finished up, I'm going to show you how to install an entire sound pack into FL Studio that you can use for your projects. Because sometimes it's nice to have something more than just the default sounds that are a part of FL Studio. So I will show you how I set that up so that I don't have to do it again and again each time that I add a new sample pack into the library. Alright, so now that we've got everything plugged in, we need to go to the back end or to the settings side of FL Studio and make sure that FL Studio has picked up the keyboard and that you can start using it. So you're going to press F10, that'll bring up the settings window, and the first tab on there is MIDI, which is what you want. And then you're going to go down here to input because we're inputting a signal from our MIDI controller. So here you'll see that there's two that are in here. The MPK2 or MPK Mini 2 is the keyboard that I have. If this was not selected, then I would make sure that I selected that. The other thing that you need to make sure is that this enable button is selected. Once that's selected, you should have a green light here and you can start testing out. So you can be on one of these channels and you should see, this is your MIDI. You should see that light up. And you should also see the actual sample light up that you're playing. If you want to get a little bit more involved, you could bring up keys and you could maybe play some actual chords. All right, so we're going to go under packs and we're going to go under drums. We're going to go into kicks and I'm going to pick up this downstream kick 12. And I kind of pre-selected these samples just to try to find some things that worked together all right. And I'm going to go into claps. I'm going to go to this Hyper Hollywood Hills Clap 02. And I'm going to go down to drums pack right here. I'm going to go to snares. And I'm actually going to pick up this one called Overhead Snare 1. And then I'm also going to pick up this other, I need to go back into drums audio, go in hi-hats, pick up this one. This is going to be our hi-hat. So to get rid of the other drums, I'm going to select this one, hold down shift, click the rest of these, and then I'm going to press alt and delete at the same time. And that's going to say to you, select channels are about to be deleted. Do you want to do this? You hit the enter button, which is okay, and you'll just be left with the samples that we just put in to FL Studio. So I'm gonna leave it at this 130 BPM. I'm still in pattern mode, we're in pattern 1. Have the metronome on, have a count in, blend recording, but that's not really important right now. Just make sure you have a metronome on, you'll see why here in a little bit. So I'm gonna map in a pattern really quickly. I'm going to take the Hollywood down just a touch. And I'm actually going to adjust the pitch on the overhead snare just to match that clap a little bit better. So that's something that you can do. You can use these adjustment knobs inside of there to do that. All right, so there's a basic drum pattern we've just put in. So now here's my hat, and this is where I'm going to be using the MIDI keyboard. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play this pattern. First, let's name this pattern. This is just the basic kick and snare. And then let's come into our playlist window and let's just lay down like 4 instances of this. So if we go to song mode by pressing L, you'll see that this comes up this way. All right, so what I want to try to do is get a feel for how I want to play the snares. And this is where you can really humanize it and make it your own. You could do just like a straight thing on here, or you come in with a... But you can humanize it by the way that you actually play this keyboard, which gives it its own feel. So what it's going to do when we record this MIDI, so if we come up here, we need to make sure that notes is selected. You right click on this to get the options. Make sure that notes is selected, and that's going to give us the opportunity to record this particular channel. So make sure that we're selected on this collider down C-hat 1, because that's the sample that we're going to be playing with for this. So let's play through it and figure out kind of what we want to map in for our hi-hats. All right, so I like that basic feel. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new pattern. We're going to press F4, and we're going to call this hi-hats. All right, so this is a new pattern that we're getting ready to lay in. We're going to press the R button, and because we have this countdown, it's going to count 4, and then it's going to start recording. So as soon as that 4 count's done, we'll start hitting this record stuff. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so now when I play this together, it will play exactly what we just recorded. So I've turned off the record button, which is the arm record button, and I'm in the playlist mode, and you'll be able to see we recorded in a whole bunch of hi-hat stuff, and now it's going to play together. So that's a really easy way to humanize the things that you are playing. So one of the other things that we could do is come into here and maybe grab some percussion of some sort. There's a snap, let's load that in, right click and say open and new. And then maybe let's grab, that's a lot of stuff. Let's see what they got in some of the older packs. I think they had a percussion setup too. All right, so let's bring that in. All right, so we can add that in. So that's just an extra little percussion hit. So let's come again, hit F4. We're gonna bring up something else, and this is called the tambourine. So we'll lay that in, click enter, and we're gonna press R on our keyboard, which is the shortcut to start recording. And then we're just going to use our MIDI keyboard to record that in. So now hit R again, and when we come back to our playlist, the tambourine is going to be put into that mix as well. And that's just a way to keep things a little more loose. You can also, if you come into here, I'm sorry, on this one, if you adjust this knob, it's the swing knob. So it'll swing things off of right on center and give it a little bit more of a humanized feel as well. And that's another way to add a little bit of flavor to that. So let's try that and I'll show you kind of what that does. So there's no swing. There's a whole lot of swing. And that does some weird stuff. I usually like it somewhere in the between that start to about halfway, just finding something that has a good swing and groove to it. And you're gonna be able to find that out for yourself, what you like and what you don't like. All right, so let's add in the snaps. We're just gonna do it over top of the same percussion loop that was the tambourine. So we can add those in. And the nice thing about this is now that we've recorded this in, so if we come up here to our patterns window, you'll see that we have the three different setups. So we have our kick and our snare, our hi-hats, and our tambourine. So if you come over here to the second pattern, which is the hi-hats, and you click into here, what you're going to see down at the very bottom is that we've mapped in velocities based on how hard we've hit the key, and it also has taken into consideration when we hit the key, so its position is not necessarily dead on the line, which is nice because that gives it, again, the more human feel, and that's what we're going for. So if you make a mistake, let's go into this tambourine one, let's go into the snaps, and let's say we didn't like where one of these, if you want to shorten this window up so you can see more stuff at a time, you can hold down control and use your scroll wheel on the mouse, pull it down and it'll pull things together. So let's say we didn't like where this snap hit. So if we select this snap, if you hold Alt, you can slide it around. If you hold Control and select it, you can just focus on the one note. And if you were to do something like quantization, you can hit Control Q, and that's going to tighten it down and put it right on the line for you. So if there's a place where you want something to be really focused and tight, you can use that Control Q shortcut to make sure you line it up where you want it to be at. But the nice thing is we can also come in here and adjust how hard that thing hits by adjusting this velocity down here, which is nice. We can also do pans, not that we really want to, but you could make this thing hit at a certain spot, so you can pan it right or you can pan it left. So you can pan every other snap to a different place. We just go down the line, pan one left, pan one right, or right and then left. So now when we listen back through this, what you're going to see is that the snaps are going to just start alternating between the left headphone and the right headphone. So let's listen to that. No, right? Yeah. So you have different ways that you can kind of just do that. So I just wanted to show you the basics of how you can use your MIDI keyboard to add a little bit more of a human element to what you're doing. It can be really helpful when you want to create something that doesn't feel super sterile, like it's completely on the grid all the time. All right, so in this section, I'm going to show you how to record an instrument, like a VST instrument in FL Studio. I already put together a simple drum pattern. And now I'm going to start adding in some instruments to that. And I want to show you how to do that with a MIDI keyboard and show you how to record those into FL Studio. So let's go over here to packs. Let's go down to instruments. Let's go to keyboard, and we are going to grab the grand piano. And I'm going to drag that over here, and that's going to open up this plugin, Direct Wave. And so now I have this set up. So what I'm going to do is give myself a little bit extra time. I'm going to come back over here just a little bit ahead of this drum pattern kicking in. I'm also going to right click here and make sure that notes is selected. That way it's going to record whatever I play on the keyboard. So let's go ahead. I'm going to turn the metronome on to keep me on track as well when I'm playing these chords. So let's go ahead and get started. Make sure as well that you're in a clear pattern, like a brand new pattern, because if you record it over top of something else that's already there, then it will overwrite, or it'll stop as soon as it gets to the end of whatever's already there. So just find a new blank pattern and we will get ready to record this. All right, so now that pattern shows up here. You can click R again and that'll take it off of the record armed mode. So when we go in here into the piano roll, you'll see that it has actually recorded all of the notes that we played. And it recorded the velocities with which we played them and exactly where we played each note. So as you play this back, I'm going to take the metronome off. I'm going to come in here, so it's just a pattern. So you can see it shows exactly when you played it, it shows how hard you played the key, and it just records all those different pieces. And this is a really nice way to get a very human touch to what you're doing. So now that we have that, and sometimes with these as well, I will Control A to select all of it, and I'll actually just pull it back to the very beginning here so that it's starting out. Unselect that. Shorten this down a little bit. Oops. Now all I have to do is just move it back over so it's in sync with everything else. And if we go back into song mode, you'll see that it will play exactly what we recorded. And you can do the same thing with just about anything else. So if you wanted to come in here and let's say go into the plugin presets, we'll go into generators, we'll go down to citrus, and I'm going to find the bass sound. So I'm going to drag this one down in here. It's going to open up citrus. So we could play this along with this setup. So if we come back out here, so then we can come up with maybe a bass line that we would want to play. if we go back to the pattern window, we would select a new pattern, or you can select F4 and that'll bring up a new pattern that's not occupied, and we can call this baseline. And then let's go ahead and record that as well. I made some mistakes in there, but the nice thing about this is we can actually come back in here and we can edit what we recorded. So the things that we don't like, we can take out or we can adjust. So let's come in here, play this. So that came in a little bit early. So I'm gonna grab a hold of this note. I'm gonna hold down Alt on my keyboard. I'm gonna drag it over so it starts at the right time. Maybe we want that to start over here. And then I can lengthen that note out. So let me shrink that down. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. You can come in, you can edit, you can change things. And that is just a way to start adding in different instruments and to add a much more human feel to what you're doing, because you are getting hands-on with the instrument and being able to record it. All right, so let's talk about this. Sometimes after you've been working in FL Studio for a little while, you will realize that you want to upgrade your sound selection by purchasing a sound pack or a sample pack. So I'm going to walk you through how to actually get that set up in FL Studio. I'm going to assume that you've already found one, that you've downloaded it, and chances are it's going to show up in a zip format like this one, the Paradise Cartel. So you'll open it up. We're going to go out here. We're going to extract it, extract all. I'm just going to extract it into the downloads folder for right now. All right, skip that one. All right, so now we're back into our downloads folder, and here is the entire sample pack. So let's take this folder and we're going to copy it for the moment. And I, on my computer, have set up a separate drive where I put all of my sample packs. And you'll understand here in just a second why I do that. So you'll paste it into here, which I've already done. And then I'm going to show you how to set up the folder in FL Studio. So after you've opened up FL Studio, you're going to hit F10. You're going to go over to the File tab. Now under here where it says Browse Extra Search Folders, we're going to click on one of these empty ones, and you're going to navigate to that folder that you just put everything in. Mine was called Samples, and you'll see that Paradise Cartel shows up under here as well. So I'm going to click OK, and I'll exit out of here. So I need to get to the browser menu, which would normally be on the left side, but I'd actually closed it out. So I'm going to hit Alt and F8. So when I hit Alt and F8, you'll see that all this is showing up. So I'm going to have to reread the structure by clicking this button here. And what you should see happen is that this folder shows up down here called Samples, if you've named it the same thing that I named it. And when you click on that, it's going to open it up and you're going to see all the folders that you have. And here is that Paradise Cartel that I just downloaded. So now inside FL Studio, I have access to all those folders. So I can just drag and drop things on top of here to replace something, or I could come in here and just drop it in as a new sample. And from here, you can basically just create your own kit. Well guys, I hope that it was helpful for you to see how to install a MIDI controller into FL Studio and then use that MIDI controller to record things like a hi-hat or a bass line or a piano or any other instrument that your heart desires for your project. And I hope it was also helpful for you to be able to see how to install an entire sound pack into FL Studio as well, so you can use those for your future projects. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and subscribe to the channel to get more content just like this. If you have any questions or comments, just leave those in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next round.